I get to New Jersey. By the time that I get to the airport and I'm leaving on the 1:30 flight into Newark from Puerto Rico, I get a phone call from his dad, who had called another one of our friends who's very high up in the military, who had just landed in Iraq. Landed in Iraq that day. And being upper echelon officers, they communicate with each other fairly easily. So my friend from childhood gets a call from Jaime's father, and he says, not a problem, I'll be at the hospital, give me a couple of hours. Orders a helicopter, take me to the hospital. Walks in, walks right up to my son's bed. Everybody is like, oh, heads up officer, you know, saluting and everything like that. And gets to my son's bed, sees my son, talks to him, my son walks around with him, calls me while I'm at the airport and tells me he's fine. I said, are you making him take him to Germany? And he said, no, he's staying. And I said, what are you talking about he's staying? He says, he wants to stay. I said, no, bring him to Germany so I could at least see him. And he said, no, he's a soldier, he's an officer. He wants to be with his men. He wants to show his men that he can't be taken down. And I said, I understand that. And at that point, when we were making the arrangements to go to Germany, he had called me a second time and yet a third time, because when they're in the hospital, they have access to the telephone a lot easier. My son had lost some blood, but there was a soldier that was in worse condition than he was. And there was no more of blood type A in the reserves. And they came and they asked my son if he could donate some blood to help this soldier get to Germany, because he needed blood and there was no more. And he said, what does my doctor say? And his doctor came over and says, you're fine. You could do whatever you want. He said, put it in. God bless my baby. He saved another soldier's life. He gave enough blood so that soldier was able to get transferred to Germany to be taken care of, and the boy survived. So they told him he could go home, and he said no. I don't have vacation till X time. I'll go home at that point. And he went back. Within a week, he was up. And well, he was up within 3 days. And he had asked to be discharged, and I told him, no, you need to sit there. And he says, Mom, I can't stand it here. And I told him, if you don't want to see a crazy little Puerto Rican woman standing over your bed and tying you down, you better stay where you are, because you need to heal. And he said, Mom, take it easy. I'm a big boy. I'm my own man now. I can handle this. What I can't handle is seeing soldiers that are in worse condition than I am and them needing my bed. I need to get out of here. And I said, okay, you need to get out of there, because the environment was very detrimental. So he went back, they put him at a desk job, for his recovery time. Then he came home for his regular vacation time. And he had 2 weeks. And the worst part is that when they come home and they have to go back, their call of duty helps them face the reality that they were in a dream for 2 weeks. I understand. All three were active duty at the time. One was in Korea, the other one was in Afghanistan, and the one that was wounded was in Iraq. And you can't tell them, because then they lose their focus and it becomes a danger. So you have to wait until there's that recovery and they tell each other themselves, among them,
Sure.
because how bad would it be that you call home because you need to connect home and hear good things because you're in a hellhole, and then you hear that one of your siblings has been wounded. When they told me that both boys were being deployed and they were both being sent to war zones, I had a fit. I called their father up because he's higher in rank, and I screamed at him like a mad woman, "You fix this, and you fix this now. I don't care who it is that you have to call." And I wasn't so courteous. But you make those phone calls, and you get them separated. And you get them put in different places, because I cannot handle having both of them in the same place at the same time. And although you supposedly officers, and officers don't go to the front line, it depends on how high up in rank you are as to whether or not you go to the front ranks, to the front lines. And so, yes, really, really difficult. So no, we didn't tell the siblings that were active duty at the time. We waited until he came home and he could tell his story. Yesterday I went to Art Miami, and in one of the exhibits, beautiful statues of a cougar, of a deer head, of turtles, and when you come up close, they're made from bullets. Or the casings, whatever falls out of the gun afterward, I don't want to know. But when I looked at it closely, I noticed that it was bullets that had been used, and bullets that had hit an object. And the reason why I recognized it was because the bullet that hit my son got stuck in the back of his bulletproof vest. And they pulled it out and they saved it for him. But then you see how a bullet melts in the body of a person. So when I looked at these statues, I recognized that these bullets had been used. And I was like, Wow. And so that woke up a whole nother wound about what my sons had been through. I don't listen to the news. I don't want to know what's going on in Iraq. I don't want to know what's going on in Afghanistan. I don't want to know that the possibility of war to defend Israel is another opportunity or time for my sons to be activated. Says, hey mom, I've decided I'm going to start writing some of my experiences. And I said, wow, that's great. That's one of the best ways to let go and get back into yourself. And he said, if you want to, you could read a couple of my stories. They're all over the house. And I said, okay. There's a story here, a story there. He had about 4 stories written when I got there. And I didn't want to read them, but I did want to read them. At this point, my boys talk to each other. They have that experience. So they're each other's counselors. You know, and when one's having a bad time, the other two come in. You know, and they protect each other and take care of each other in that way. And they may talk to mom only once a week or once every 10 days or when I remember, but they talk to each other almost every day, which is something that's wonderful for me. Yeah. So I must have been there 3 or 4 days, and I finally sit down and take a break from helping him unpack and get his house together, and I decide to read this story. And the first story I read is We've Just Arrived. And everything is wonderful, and understand